Improving at the game of basketball for most players feels like a long and slow process, especially if they don't know what they're doing. But that doesn't have to be the case with you. My success came from 5 core principles that completely changed how I trained and how I thought about the game. If you take this serious, you'll start improving so fast, it feels unfair. And the best part is, any basketball player can do this. Let's get into it. The difficulty of your workout schedule should be equal to the size of your goals. If you want to be great, you can't live the same way average people live. During my sophomore year of high school, I struggled to get any playing time on varsity. I rode the bench the entire year, except towards the end of the season. I was subbed into one of our division rivalry games because our star player got into early foul trouble. So I took his spot. Now that was surprising. But what I didn't tell you, and what most people didn't see, is that behind the scenes for that entire season, I worked out 2 to 3 times a day, every single day of the year. Shoot, man, I didn't even hang out with my friends that much during my high school years. Like, I didn't have time to waste. It's a sacrifice. But depending on the level of your goal, it requires an equal amount of sacrifice. You have to sacrifice everything that gets in your way. Now that you understand what it takes to be great, let me help you get there. Principle number 1 is have a plan. One of my favorite authors, Napoleon Hill, has a quote: plan your work and work your plan. Before my sophomore year, all of my basketball workouts were based on what I felt like I should work on. I never wrote down a workout plan or anything like that. I just winged it. Shockingly, not having a plan didn't go well. I wasn't improving my skills effectively. Let's think about this. Over time, if we don't train a specific skill, that skill gets worse. If you don't practice shooting for an entire month, let's say your shooting attribute goes down by 5. On the other hand, for a month, if you train shooting every single day, it may improve by 5. See, bodybuilders know this, and they structure their workouts in such a way that they hit every muscle group they need to in their workouts. If they work out upper body on Mondays, on Tuesdays, they'll hit legs, for example. Or they'll never hit legs, because legs is not fun. But each workout for upper body or lower body is different in order to hit the muscles that they didn't hit the last time they worked out. So now, understanding this principle, you need to plan your workouts accordingly. For this example, let's say shooting is your biggest weapon. You need to practice shooting every day. But to make sure you're not a one-dimensional player, you need to incorporate training in different skills. Here's an example of a training schedule that you can use for yourself. Sundays are going to be your rest day. Monday to Saturday, have a shooting workout. Ball handling will be on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Finishing will be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So on every single day, you're working 2 completely different skill sets, but you're always getting your shooting work in. Now, if that sounds overwhelming to you, I get it. Trying to figure out how to plan your workouts, track your progress, and really to just stay on top of things is hard. Here's my solution. You may have seen bodybuilders tracking their progress, tracking their workouts, and self-assessing themselves with their training journals, right? Well, now you can track your goals, you can track your workouts, your game performances, your confidence levels, and so much more with the 365-day basketball training journal. This is my attempt at creating a solution for basketball players that struggle with tracking their workouts, tracking their progress with basketball, because nobody has given us a roadmap for it. And everybody just says, oh, well, you got to be consistent and you got to have a plan. Like, yes, but how can we actually execute on a plan and create that for ourselves? This is the way to do it. By the way, I never realized how frustrating publishing a book was until now. Like, wow. Anyway, if you are interested in getting one for yourself, click the top link in the description. Now, some of y'all might also be thinking, oh, well, that's great and all, but I still have to plan the workouts and everything. I don't know how to make a workout schedule for myself and everything. Look, I have basketball workouts on that same page. So when you buy a training journal, you can get half off on either one of the collections or the bundles of all the different workout sets, whether it be shooting, passing, ball handling, or finishing. You can get one of those for yourself. You get the beginner all the way up to the advanced levels, and you can use those workouts to help you progress in your basketball journey. Once again, 50% off if you get it with the journal. All right, man, I know that was a lot of yap, but I hope this helps y'all. I love y'all, boys. Let's get back to the video. Multiple short workouts are much better than one long training session. Let's say we had two basketball players. All variables are the same, such as their height, weight, body type, sleep, diet, etc. Everything is the same. If both players spent the same amount of total time training per week, but one player had one long session 3 days a week, while the other split his workouts into multiple shorter sessions and trained 6 days a week, who's going to improve faster? My guess would be the guy who split his workouts into multiple shorter sessions. He can get more out of every training session. If you have a 3-hour-long intense basketball workout, you will be exhausted about halfway through, or at least not at your peak in about an hour. The next 2 hours of the workout may be beneficial for like your mental toughness, but the quality of your reps will be diminished. To add on to my reasoning, muscle memory is crucial in basketball. Have you ever come back from spring break to the first practice and forgot how to dribble a basketball? To improve fast at basketball, you need to reinforce your muscle memory as much as humanly possible. I want to give you an analogy, and I hope it makes sense. Whenever you train, basketball touches certain spots in your brain to activate it. The more touch points you give it, the better. This is the method Kobe Bryant used to surpass everyone as a kid.
But it's simple. Like if you do the math on this, right? Like if you're thinking about how often kids are playing, if you want to be a great player, if you play every single day, 2-3 hours, every single day, over the course of a year, how much better are you getting? Most kids will play maybe, an hour and a half, 2 days a week.
All it took was one summer of splitting his workouts throughout the day and staying consistent. And by that point, shoot, it was too late for everybody else. Now, understanding those two principles alone will already help you improve faster than most basketball players. But if you don't apply this next principle, you are missing out on something that could really accelerate your growth. Alright, so principle number 3 is something that I used even back in middle school. But I went about it in the wrong way for years, and it wasn't until this year when I figured it all out. You must set tangible goals. What the heck is a tangible goal? The definition of tangible is perceptible by touch, clear and definite, real. The definition of a goal is the object of a person's ambition or effort, an aim or desired result. Now, for something to be a tangible goal, it must have the ability to be measured and be perceptible by touch. You can't say, oh, my goal is to be the best basketball player I can be, because that isn't measurable and that's not tangible. That is an effect of tangible work, but that's not really a goal. Instead, ask yourself, what do I have to do in order to become the best basketball player I can be? Then, based on your answers, set your goals. For example, I will train X amount of hours a day, Y days a week, with Z amount of intensity. Let me reiterate the part when I said tangible goals can be measured and perceptible by touch. You can measure stats. You can measure progress. You can't measure emotion. Declaring that you'll become the best player you can be is an empty promise, because you'll never know if you became the best player you can possibly be. Your potential is limitless. For a goal to be perceptible by touch, it must be something that has a specific destination or moment when you can say, I achieved this. I accomplished what I set out to do. Being the best you can be is an ongoing process, and it never ends until you stop playing. Tangible goals are in your control. There are no outside factors in play. The only thing that will stop you from achieving your goals is you, and that is the greatest game to play. Principle number 4, you must experiment in pickup and off-season games. That is the time to add to your bag and become a better player overall. You can take the time to learn what works and what doesn't, but most basketball players are so afraid to make a mistake in organized basketball. Understandably so. They fear making a mistake, getting subbed out, and having to ride the bench the rest of the game because the coach has a short leash on them. That's understandable. But the great players don't have to worry about that, because even if they make 20 mistakes, they won't get subbed out. So if you're tired of getting subbed out because you made one mistake, you gotta become so good that the coach has to play you. My dad has always been in my corner, but there's one thing that he will never let me get away with. That being having a victim mindset. My dad and I had long conversations about how I wasn't getting playing time and that I deserved more and blah, blah, blah. But one day, my dad said something to me that I've carried with me into the rest of my life, including you two. He said, if you are working as hard as you can and you're not getting the results you want, you're probably working the wrong way. He described to me that I was so intense and that I could never relax in games, and that was holding me back. He taught me to work harder than everyone in practice, but develop the emotional control to drop the tenseness during games. That's how I play my best. So step 1, become so good that your coach has to play you. And step 2, let go and have fun. And step 3, experiment in games, and try new things. This final principle is what will keep your success intact. If you follow the principles outlined in this video, you will grow to be very successful. And that's great. But if you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, I can tell you from personal experience, your life will come crashing down. Here's a passage from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 16, verse 24 to 28. Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what shall a man give in return for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay each person according to what he has done. Truly I say to you, there are some standing here who will not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." Amen. My interpretation of that last line is that people will never taste the death of their false selves, or in other words, their ego, until they meet Jesus. Paul tells us that we must die to ourselves daily. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that is tough for me to do. When I was younger, I believed that becoming a great basketball player would solve all my problems and I would become a new person. But no, I was the same old person with the same old problems, but I was good at basketball. Little did I know that if anyone is in Christ, old things are passed away. Behold, all things become new. Look to Jesus Christ, trust in him, and he will fill that void in your heart. If you're anything like me, I know you feel like something is missing in your life. You're doing all the right things, but you just feel off. God is calling you. Answer the call and surrender your life to Jesus Christ when you feel ready. He will wait as long as it takes. He loves you and wants the best for you. And so do I. Hey, remember to check the top link in the description for the training journal and all the other basketball training programs. Now that you know how to improve so fast at basketball that it feels unfair, be sure to click this video to get 10 years of basketball advice in just 10 minutes. But as always, keep God first. Stay blessed, bro.